I'm not ready to set my sights on a capital C career. I look around and I see so many people who have a big career and they're so unhappy. I feel like with my little C career and my little life that I have, I feel like I get so much more meaning and fulfillment on a day-to-day basis. My name is Eileen Tyrrell. I'm 26 years old and I live in New York City on $53K a year.
What? This is crazy. $53,000 a year. I used to live in New York, and there's no way I'll be able to live in New York with $53,000 a year. I mean, it's more than the medium income, yes, but it's it's not cheap. New York is not cheap. You have federal, you have state, you have city, local tax. It's mind blowing. I'm curious to see how she does it.
New York just has an energy to it that I don't know if I've experienced anywhere else. Just feels electric when you're walking around.
I commute into Brooklyn every day.
Public system, normal.
I am the store manager at the bookstore, and from that I make $45,000 a year. The remaining
Damn, so her salary is even cheaper than that. So she's making that up from a side hustle or something, which
$8,000 comes from side jobs, primarily freelance writing. I also do pet sitting, and now I'm making money from TikTok.
Spend the day with me as a normal person living in New York on about $50K a year.
I want to show people that you don't need to be making six figures to have a good life in New York.
I love this. This is crazy. Yes, yes, hustle, hustle, girl. So she's making money on TikTok. I need to learn from her. This is social media is where you want to be at if you're looking for extra income. I'm gonna have to do some other videos on this, but this is a great start. I love her spirit. So let's see.
It does feel very romantic, and just getting to be around books all day long and getting to talk to customers about books and shelve books and see what new books are coming out is a very special job. It's the kind of job that maybe you wanted when you were a little kid and then you grew up and you had to be funneled into the corporate pipeline or whatever.
That's not me. Being at the
Budgeting in
bookstore.
New York can be hard. I make $53,000 a year, and people ask me all the time how it's possible to live here on that income. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna
That's right.
sugarcoat it. It's hard, but it's so worth it. Once or twice a week, I'll meal prep multiple meals, and that will be my lunch for work. It's okay that I'm living on this tight budget. For me, it comes down to three things. I don't have a lot of debt, I have very reasonable rent, and I don't spend a lot of money.
Hold on one second. We need to take a closer look at that. So she's paying $1,500 a month for rent, which in New York I think is reasonable. If you don't have a roommate and you're trying to get a place for yourself, then I think that's more than reasonable. And then she says she commutes from Brooklyn, so that is about the price range for that. But the food, I'm a little confused because you are eating out a lot, girl. Because I'm looking at your savings. You're saving $93 a month. Your food expenses for one person is $531. Your priorities are off, girl, because the food is a discretionary expense, meaning that you can control it. It's not like your rent where you have to pay that amount no matter what. And you need to work on your savings. Like you cannot I mean, I know the 53,000 is small, but considering her expenses, she has low debt, like she mentioned about. I think the food portion is a bit extra, and she could do better on that. Then the discretionary one for 527, I'm not exactly sure what that is. That could be anything, to be honest. It could be subscriptions, but I can see that somewhere else. So I'm not really sure. I just think that if it's discretionary, that means that she has the flexibility to choose whether or not to spend on that discretionary expense. So now, if you think about it this way, you're making $3,477 a month, and yet between your discretionary and your food, she's spending more than 30% of her income. That that that's crazy. Her rent is 50% of her income, and then she's spending already between her figuring out what she wants to do with her money, over 30% of that income, discretionary and food. You could do better because there's no reason for you to spend almost $1,000 on things that you have flexibility on and only save $93 in a month. That's just priorities are not right. Now, utilities for 312, I cannot speak on that. It's really depending on how you use the utility. So we're just going to leave that alone. Insurance, same thing. You can shop around, but we're not going to argue about that. Transportation, I think, is reasonable considering that she's making 3,000 and she's spending 130. That's more than reasonable considering she has to take the subway around to commute to work and so on. In New York, 130 for monthly expense on transportation is more than reasonable. Now, the subscriptions and membership, that's more like lifestyle. So she could probably have, Netflix, which is understandable. You want a bit of entertainment in your life, and maybe a membership for a gym membership. So that's okay, right? I think that, she's entitled to enjoy her life a little bit, right? So we're just going to leave that this way. But the $93, man, that is so here's the thing I want to tell people, right? You need to understand one thing. You're not supposed to get a job just to survive. That is not the goal because your job is not going to be there forever because you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to retire. So if you don't have enough cushion, enough savings, you're screwed. And I think people don't spend and take the time to think about tomorrow. So that's number 1. And number 2, it's like you need money to live. So if the only way you earn money is by working, you're going to have to work till you die, pretty much. So I really think that people need to emphasize on savings because you need to invest. If the only
Money.
if the only way you earn income is by working, you're going to keep working. So what you need to do is you need to make your money work for you. But if you don't have any savings, you're not going to be able to have any money available to work for you. So saving is the first step. You need to save. And if all you're saving is $93, you're never going to be able to have a substantial amount to invest in anything. So you're basically screwing yourself up. So she could do better. That's all I could say.
This is one of my staple meals. Ate so many of these that the dentist told me I had 5 cavities. My parents pay for my phone bill. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Other than that, I pay for everything myself. However, I do have the safety net of knowing that they would be able to help me if something were to go wrong.
And that's the sad part because, back in the days, it was such that, as you age, you have your kids taking care of you. But nowadays, things are the opposite, which is as people are getting older, they're still taking care of their young ones, which is crazy. That's where the economy is going. How can she? I mean, she's still young. She's in her 20s, early 20s. She's probably in college, wrapping up college, or just graduated college, whatever it is, and a little bit of help here and there from your parents is totally fine. But it's like she is literally, you know, depending on her parents if anything goes wrong. And that's not the attitude to have. You should learn to depend on yourself. Now, worst comes to worse, if anything were to happen and she needed to rely on someone, she had her parents, that's great. But I don't think she should look at her parents as her safety net.
My go-to meal, honestly, when I don't want to spend a lot of money. I have about $3,000 in student loans, so my monthly payment is very manageable. I pay off my credit cards every month. I have 2 of them and I will not let them roll over. I think my parents, and specifically my dad, instilled such a fear in me of credit card debt that it feels sacrilegious to
All right, so for the credit card, I'm super excited to hear that she's actually paying her debt on time every single month. And it's extremely important because if you don't pay your credit card, you're going to incur interest. And that's how they catch you. So there are some perks to using a credit card because, let's say if your card gets scammed, they're going to be using the money from the credit card, and the credit card is going to basically reimburse you and just cover you for any unauthorized expenses, as opposed to if you use your debit card and then somebody scams your debit card, then they have access to your money, your bank account, and the money is gone, and it's going to be an upward battle for you to go to the bank and try to get your money back because they're going to give you a harder time than if it's a credit card. So that's number one. Number two, if you use your credit card, you get points. There are so many benefits to owning a credit card and using a credit card. I use credit cards all the time, but I have to make sure I pay them every single month, which is what she's doing. And I think that she's doing a wonderful job with that. But I would say to people, debt is not a bad thing. Remember, the first thing I mentioned was that you need money to invest, right? And she's saving $93 a month, which is going to take her a long time to be able to gather enough money to invest, to buy stocks, to buy real estate investments, or whatever it is. So you need money to make money. So what the wealthy and the rich are doing is they understand that concept. So what they do is they learn how to leverage other people's money, which is the bank's money, which is debt. So debt isn't a bad thing. So I'm trying to let you guys understand that you shouldn't be afraid of debt. You should be afraid of debt only if you don't know how to manage debt, but you shouldn't be afraid of debt because if you use it well, you can make a whole lot of money because now you have a lot more resources to be able to build yourself up. And the problem is people use debt like credit cards to go buy things that don't bring them money. So people will go shopping with their credit cards. People are going to go on trips on vacation with their credit cards. And that's really what messes them up because now it's like you've spent the money you could have used to make money. And even worse, now you're paying interest to pay back that money that you spent that never helped you in the first place. So I really think that the mindset is there is good credit, which is there's good debt and there's bad debt. And you have to make sure that you only fall for the good debt, meaning you're using debt to buy things that are going to make you money. If you want to go buy an apartment building, it would be ridiculous for you to think that you're going to have to save your money to be able to buy that building. It's going to take you forever. However, if you get debt to buy that building, the return on that investment is going to be so great that you're going to be twice as far ahead in life than someone who's trying to save all their time, all those years just to come up with that money in the first place. That's good debt. Bad debt is using money to go buy stuff that's not going to make you any money. And even worse, that's going to cost you even more money because you have to pay that debt back plus interest.
Never let payments accumulate. I pay $15.66 a month in rent. That does not include utilities. I live with 2 roommates, so that is a lot to pay to have 2 roommates, but for Manhattan, that is a good deal. I just don't really spend a lot of money. I don't buy a lot of things. All of my furniture and most of my possessions are things that I either brought with me from college or are hand-me-downs that friends gave me. This puffer.
She seems to be very good with money in terms of how she's spending her money. However, I'm still yet to hear how she's spending that $527 in discretionary income expenses and that food for 500 because she's spending over 1,000 without really calling it out. Because I'm curious to see how she's eating. Is she eating out all the time? Because she said she was meal prepping. So where's that money going? And right now, you're saying you're not shopping. You're getting all these hand-me-downs. So you need to explain yourself a bit better.
Someone left it at a party at my friend's house, so this jacket was free. I kind of had to train myself to find hobbies and interests that weren't related to spending money. That really helps when you're living on this type of budget.
Fair enough.
I try to keep my dining out expenses low because that adds up very quickly.
That's the good part.
However, I get a bacon, egg, and cheese from my local deli probably once or twice a week.
Can I do a bacon, egg, and cheese on a toasted everything bagel, please?
There are a couple expenses that I don't really stress about. The first one is buying coffee every day. Going to a coffee shop and having a face-to-face interaction is so underrated.
Just a drip coffee with half and half?
It's honestly a highlight of my day. It's absolutely worth the
Wait a minute. Did I just see $13? Wait a second. I need to go back. This is crazy. Okay, so $16 total. And she's saying she's getting coffee every single day. Now, I drink coffee every day, and my coffee is like $2-3 a day, a drink, right? So I may have 2 drinks a day or whatnot, but it's still like $5 for the day. You're telling me you're spending $16, you're tipping on top of that, which I get it, but $16 every single day, that's almost $20 a day. That's almost $600 a month if you're doing 30 days at $20 a day. That explains where that discretionary money and the food thing is going. She's wasting her money. She could be drinking coffee at home. But I get it. If you want to go out and drink coffee because you want to interact with people, you want that interaction and that connection between humans, I get that. That's fine. I get the same thing. I buy coffee every day, but at $16 a day, that's crazy.
Of my day, it's absolutely worth the $4.50 that I pay for my coffee every day.
So where's the 16? Oh, the bagel? Oh, so she's getting the bagel and the coffee every day. Gosh, girl, $20 a day is on that income, it's excessive.
I think the idea that we should be sacrificing these little expenses for the sake of an extra $20, $30 a week, that's an idea that I struggle with because I think sometimes those little expenses are tied to a sense of community and a sense of greater purpose. I donate about 100.
So hold on before we talk about the donation. I think that she needs to understand something. Her mindset, I do agree with you. Like, it's okay to reward yourself, to enjoy life a little bit, but doing it on a daily basis on that income, I think it's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to limit it to just twice, maybe three times a week. That would be helpful. But I feel like she needs to work better on her income. And now she's talking about donation. I mean, it's a great cause, but I'm curious to see how much she donates.
$100 of my monthly budget to various organizations. I donate about $100 of my monthly budget
100.
to various organizations. I want to give back to a city that gives me so much. I try to focus on local organizations, food banks, and mutual aid, stuff like that.
I'm sorry, real talk, she's not in the position to be donating anything. I don't even care what it is. Like, girl, you're not even paying your own phone bill and you're here donating 100 a month. You're donating more than what you're saving in a month because you want to contribute back in your city. Girl, I don't even know how to explain it. I think it's a good thing to do to support organizations that you believe in. But when you're in survival mode, I really think that you need to reprioritize how you spend your money.
I have thought about the risks of living with this little in savings, and to me, at this moment in time, it's worth it. I'm comfortable taking that risk and hoping that things are going to work out further down the line. A lot of people might view that as naive or financially irresponsible, and that's okay.
That's okay because she's got her parents waiting for her in case she's not able to maintain for herself. I think this is terrible. I mean, at least she has savings, so that's a good thing. But I feel like most people should aim to have at least 3 to 6 months saved in case of an emergency. If she didn't have her parents, she would be totally freaking out. The reason why she's not tripping right now is because worst comes to worst, she can go back home and she'll be fine. So that's a good thing. But I think that as a responsible adult, you don't know if you're gonna have your job tomorrow because they could lay you off at any time. So I would say try to save 3 to 6 months savings in your bank account or in a money market account, money that you can actually access if you need to, as opposed to $1,900 doesn't even cover her rent after a month and a half and she's out. She just has enough to cover herself just less than a month with her expenses that she has currently.
I grew up in the Chicago suburbs and I studied civil engineering at Iowa State University. But about 2 years into my degree, I remembered that I'm not really a math and science person. I'm more of a language person. I love books. I love reading and writing. At that
Fair
point, I
enough.
was already halfway through the program, and so I figured I would just stick it out because I had taken way too many math classes at that point to give up. I started to develop a backup plan because I knew that once I graduated, I was probably not going to be pursuing a full-time career in engineering. Once I graduated, I was ready for something else. I was ready to try living somewhere that I had never lived before.
So she decided to move to somewhere else after graduation, and she moved to one of the most expensive cities out there. I mean, I don't even get it. She could have been living in New Jersey, for instance. That would have been better. It's a little cheaper than New York, and be able to commute to go to her library or even get a job in New Jersey or somewhere else. She didn't even have to be on the East Coast because that's more expensive. Considering the type of career she's in, she could have had a job anywhere. And I would have preferred if she had the opportunity to get a job in a cheaper city rather than going to one of the most expensive cities out there. And if you want to tell me that you enjoy New York, you like it because it's electric, it's vibrant, there's so much going on. I used to live in New York. I loved New York, but I moved primarily because of the cost of living. Like, I'll be literally just surviving if I lived out there. That's the reason why I moved. And it wasn't an easy decision to make, but I had to do what I had to do. And I think that people are just too comfortable. People are too comfortable and they don't want to go through the process to get to where they want to be. They're looking for the easy route, right? Which is, it's easier to stay in a city where I know everyone. I don't want to move into a new city or making up excuses why not they can't move or whatnot. I think New York was not the best place for her, to be honest.
When I moved to New York, I had about $3,000 in savings. That was after I had paid for the moving truck and for my first month of rent and the security deposit.
These are gonna be so good.
I knew I obviously needed a job.
Hi.
I did apply to a couple of engineering jobs, and I actually got an offer. It was $67,000 a year.
Thank you.
I thought about it, and I ultimately turned it down.
Oh my goodness. Hold on 1 second. You turned down an engineering job paying you $67,000 as a first year graduate to get a job that was paying you $45,000 re- that requires you to go hustle outside to make even more money, and combine you still make less. And I think that people need to understand something, okay? You're too young to be talking about, and I'm saying this respectfully, okay? Really saying this respectfully. But I feel like your 20s are the years that you should be out there grinding, working like a dog, figuring out your passion, going hard. This that she's doing is like casual living, and the worst is it's not just living, she's surviving. She's barely saving, she's barely enjoying life because she's not making enough. New York is a great city, I get it, but it's like you have to be strategic with your life. You know, she could have been living on in Texas, for instance, and having an engineering job paying her $67,000, where she wouldn't have to pay no state income tax. Her rent would be less than what she's paying. Her expenses will be less than what she's paying. Her savings will be more than what she has, and then she'll be able to travel to New York whenever she wants and experience that vibrant city that she loves so much. I don't get it. I feel like she rejected the offer to go make 40. I mean, it's not about the income all the time, but when you're tight on money, it is. So, that wasn't the best decision.
I had just made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to take a job just because it felt like the natural step or the expected thing from me. I wanted a job that filled my cup every day. I didn't want a job that was going to require me to sit at a desk and do work that ultimately wasn't meaningful to me. It was from that decision that I ended up first working in a bookstore.
I agree in one aspect of what she just said. If you're chasing your goal, Meaning, I didn't want to be in a cubicle. I didn't want to go through corporate America, do all those things that everybody's doing after college. I hear you. But what is your plan? Because from everything I've seen in this video, it doesn't even sound like she has a plan. She just wanted to make sure she's not in a cubicle in the rat race. She wanted to do something that's fulfilling. But in doing so, it's not like she's even making it. And that's the problem. Like, if you're telling me that I've always wanted to be a book writer, I always wanted to open my own bookstore, I always wanted to be a creative, and she went into that space because it's less stressful. Once you get off work, you don't have to worry about work anymore, and that gives her time to go home, write her book, publish her book, start a online business, and all those things. Then I'll say, heck yeah, that makes sense. You don't need to get tied up in a job where, yes, you're getting a higher pay, but you're trading all of your time that you could have used to build yourself up. However, she traded that career to be in a position where there's not much going on other than her doing something that she'll prefer doing other than the other one. And that's the problem I feel like people are having. Your 20s are supposed for you to build yourself up. She's not married yet. She doesn't have any kids. Her responsibilities are just her. So what is she going to do when she gets married? What is she going to do when she has twins or more kids? It's going to be harder for her. And gosh,
I always kind of pictured it as more of a stopgap job, but I just fell in love with it. I didn't expect it to expand into what is now my full-time job, but that's how things go, I guess. You never know what's right around the corner. I'm pretty content with my life. At the moment, I'm not yearning for anything else. I have a job that I love, I have a life that I love, and the financial stability is not quite there, but for now, it's a trade-off that I'm comfortable with and I'm willing to make because I love my life so much. There's this Oscar Wilde quote that goes something like, "With freedom, flowers, books, and the moon, how could one not be perfectly happy?" I have freedom, I can go buy flowers. Okay, sometimes I can't afford flowers, but I have freedom and I have books and I have the moon.
that is crazy. Yeah. You have freedom and you have bills and you have barely any savings. And it's mainly because of the choices that you're making. And the good news is you're still young, there's still time. And, maybe this is a phase. And if it is, then that will be a good thing because you need to snap out of it because there's more to life than, just be so chill. I think I think you need to grind harder, especially we just got into the new year 2026. This is a time for you to grind. And for everybody who's in their 20s, 30s, whatever your goal is, whatever your dream is, go after it. There's no reason for you to take it slow. All right? See you guys in the next episode. More importantly, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Love you guys. See you later.